Hey guys, how's it going? Danconia, and welcome back to the Overwatch Contenders Roundup. Yes, the Contenders Roundup is back for a second season. It's about time that we got into Season 2 of Contenders 2020, and a lot of things have changed. We're going to go into trials for this first video, where we take a look at what's been happening in Europe and North America. And obviously the format has changed in different regions. The Australian Contenders Trials season is also taking place. They happen monthly now, so this is the month of July that we're looking at here, and Australia is still taking place, and that is a knockout format, but this North American and European regions are a table league based format, so this is going to be slightly different to what we see in other regions. But let's get stuck into it, starting off with Europe. Now, I am going to go through all the fixtures here, so I'm going to rattle a lot of results off. The unique way these fixtures will run is that it was a first to 2 map series, so it wasn't the normal first to 3 maps that we see in the Overwatch League or first to 4 maps we see in the playoffs, or especially the finals of the playoffs. This was a very short series when people got into it. So this is going to be super interesting. Let's start off obviously with the European region. It was divided into 2 groups, Group A and Group B. In Group A we saw 5 teams, and in Group B we saw 6 teams. So in Group A we saw Young and Beautiful, Vox and Hilly, Samsung Morning Stars, Dreadlords, and HSL Esports. HSL Esports obviously former winner of Contenders back in 2018. But let's run through these results then. Now, we started off with HSL taking on Vox and Hilly. This was a 2-0 for Vox and Hilly. Samsung Morning Stars would then take on Young and Beautiful, and this would be a 2-0 win for Young and Beautiful. Samsung Morning Stars would then take on Vox and Hilly in the next stage of games with a 2-0 win for Vox and Hilly here. And then Young and Beautiful would take on Dreadlords, and this would be a 2-1 win for Young and Beautiful. Then in the next batch of 2 fixtures, we had Young and Beautiful taking on Vox and Hilly. This was a 2-1 win for Young and Beautiful, and HSL Esports would take on Dreadlords. This would be a 2-0 win for Dreadlords. Then, in the next batch, Samsung Morning Stars will take on Dreadlords. This would be a 2-0 win for Samsung Morning Stars. And HSL will take on Young and Beautiful. Again, another 2-0 win for Young and Beautiful, showing their prowess as one of the favourites in this Trials tournament. Then, for the last 2 fixtures, Vox and Hilly would take on Dreadlords. This would be a 2-0 win for Vox and Hilly. And HSL Esports would take on Samsung Morning Stars. And this would be a 2-0 win for Samsung Morning Stars. This meant that, well, 2 people go through from each group into the main Contenders tournament. So, Young and Beautiful and Vox and Hilly would be going through. Young and Beautiful unbeaten during this Trials tournament for July, and Vox and Hilly getting a 3-1 record means they both go through. Samsung Morning Stars, Dreadlords and HSL Esports will miss out and will have to try again next month. HSL Esports failing to pick up a single map, which again is not a great look for a team that was winning it not so long ago. But we now move on to Group B, where we see 6 teams, still the same rules, 2 go through, 4 will go out. This group saw Sheer Cold, Avoided, Angry Titans, Raw Esports, The Ultimates and Vasta Gaming. So again, Angry Titans, former winners, but look very, very, very different to what they did back then. So let's get into this then, and we started off with Angry Titans taking on Sheer Cold. This would be a 2-1 win for Sheer Cold. Ultimates would take on Raw Esports. This would be a 2-1 win for Raw Esports. Vasta Gaming would take on Avoided. This would be a 2-0 win for Avoided. In the next batch of fixtures, we had the Ultimates taking on Sheer Cold. This would be a 2-0 win for Sheer Cold. Avoided would take on Raw Esports. This would be a 2-1 win for Avoided. And Angry Titans would take on Vasta Gaming. This would be a 2-0 win for Angry Titans. Then we had Vasta Gaming taking on Raw Esports. This would be a 2-1 win for Raw Esports. Sheer Cold would take on Avoided. This would be a 2-1 win for Sheer Cold. And Ultimates would take on Angry Titans. This would be a 2-1 win for Angry Titans. Then in the next batch, Avoided would take on Angry Titans. This would be a 2-0 win for Avoided. Raw Esports would take on Sheer Cold. This would be a 2-1 win for Sheer Cold. And Ultimates would take on Vasta Gaming. This would be a 2-1 win for Ultimates. And in the final round of fixtures, we would see Raw Esports taking on Angry Titans. This would be a 2-1 win for Angry Titans. Ultimates would take on Avoided. This would be a 2-0 win for Avoided. And lastly, we would see Vasta Gaming taking on Sheer Cold, and it would be a 2-0 win for Sheer Cold. This means the unbeaten team in this Trials group would be Sheer Cold for Europe. Avoided would be going through as that 2nd seed. Missing out would be Angry Titans, Raw Esports, The Ultimates and Vasta Gaming. Vasta Gaming not winning a single match, and all 4 of those teams, along with the 3 that didn't make it through, will be taking part next month to see if they can make it to Contenders for August. But that means that going through will be Young and Beautiful, Vox and Hilly, Sheer Cold and Avoided. They will be going through to the main Contenders tournament. which will take place near the end of this month. And then they will be joining, obviously, Shoes Crew EU, Ex Oblivione, Raspberry Racers, and the reigning champions, British Hurricane, who made it automatically through because of their Season 1 placing. So, that's super interesting, isn't it? And it's going to be really interesting to see how this format works. It's going to... They come at you thick and fast, and they're really short matches. So, yeah, it's super duper interesting. But let's move on to America then. And now this is or North America, I should say. This is slightly different because North America, we got 2 groups again, but both groups had 6 instead of having 5 and 6. So this is going to be a little bit different than that. But the teams we saw in Group A were Odyssey, Cyan Esports, Karasuno, Revival, Hype Unit, and Saints. And their fixtures went as this. Odyssey would take on Revival, this would be a 2-0 win for Odyssey. Karasuno would take on Saints, this would be a 2-1 win for Karasuno. And Hype Unit would take on Cyan Esports, this would be a 2-0 win for Cyan Esports. Then we would see the Saints take on Revival, this would be a 2-1 win for Revival. Odyssey would take on Cyan Esports, this would be a 2-1 win for Odyssey. And Karasuno would take on Hype Unit, this would be a 2-0 win for Karasuno. Then in the next batch, we saw Karasuno take on Revival, this would be a 2-1 win for Revival. Saints would take on Cyan Esports, this would be a 2-0 win for Cyan Esports. And Odyssey would take on Hype Unit, this would be a 2-0 win for Odyssey. Then moving on, and we had Saints taking on Hype Unit, this would be a 2-0 win for Hype Unit. We had Revival taking on Cyan Esports, this would be a 2-1 win for Cyan Esports. And Odyssey would take on Karasuno, and it would be a 2-0 win for Odyssey. Then in the last batch of fixtures, we saw Revival take on Hype Unit, this would be a 2-1 win for Hype Unit. Odyssey would take on Saints, this would be a 2-0 win for Odyssey, and Karasuno would take on Cyan Esports, this would be a 2-1 win for Cyan Esports. This means that Odyssey would top the group for Group A in North American Trials, with that perfect 5-0 record, dropping only 1 map during this tournament. Cyan Esports will come in that second place with that 4-1 record. Missing out would be Karasuno, Revival, and Hype Unit, all on the same map, all on the same match record, but slightly different differentials, and then Saints at the bottom with no wins on the board so far. In Group B, though, we saw Malibu, Square One, Kratos, Uprising Academy, Sky Foxes, and Noble. So, going into their fixtures, Noble would take on Kratos, this would be a 2-0 win for Kratos. Malibu would take on Sky Foxes, this would be a 2-0 win for Malibu. And Uprising Academy would take on Square One, this would be a 2-1 win for Uprising Academy. Sky Foxes would take on Kratos, this would be a 2-0 win for Kratos. Noble would take on Square One, this would be a 2-0 win for Square One. Malibu would take on Uprising Academy, this would be a 2-0 win for Malibu. Then next batch of features, Malibu would take on Kratos, this would be a 2-0 win for Malibu. Sky Foxes would take on Square One, this would be a 2-0 win for Square One. And Noble would take on Uprising Academy, and it would be a 2-0 win for Uprising Academy. In the next group, Sky Foxes would take on Uprising Academy, this would be a 2-1 win for Sky Foxes. Kratos would take on Square One, this would be a 2-0 win for Square One. And Noble would take on Malibu, and it would be again another 2-0 for Malibu. And in the last batch of fixtures, Kratos would take on Uprising Academy, this would be a 2-0 win for Kratos. Noble would take on Sky Foxes, this would be a 2-1 win for Noble. And Malibu would once again get a 2-0 victory over Square One. This means that in Group B, Malibu will top the group with a 5-0 record, not dropping a single map. Perfect 10-0 record during this tournament. Fantastic performance from them. Square One would squeeze through on map differential by a margin of 1 in that second spot above Kratos. Uprising Academy would be 4th, Sky Foxes would be 5th, and Noble would be 6th. But everyone got at least 1 win on the board, which is really nice to see. So that means that Odyssey, Cyan Esports, Malibu, and Square One will be going through to the main contenders tournament for July in North America, joining Triumph, Third Impact, Team Doge, and another team that's to be confirmed. And this will be super interesting because Team Doge has had a rebuild. They've had a few of their parts moved around now. Third Impact, again, a little bit different. The to be confirmed team is whoever's going to pick up a Second Wind spot, because Second Wind isn't here anymore. It might be someone promoted from Trials. I don't know, and I'm not sure. It depends if anyone's going to pick up that Second Wind spot. And looking at what Malibu have done, they definitely look like they're the strongest team coming out of that Trials tournament. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these teams compete in the proper contenders tournament that will come a little bit later this month. I will be on a break when that comes out, so don't expect any results for that. But yeah, this is super duper interesting. I'm hoping to get another video out for the results of some other regions before I go on a break. It's kind of weird because it's all kind of changed the timing of things and all that, but hopefully we can get it all done. And yeah, this new format is very interesting. I kind of like this round robin sort of league format. and we'll see how it goes in the regular tournament when we get back to knockouts, which are always really thrilling. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.